Hello, I'm Bodhivajra, in case you haven't met me before, and I want to say a few words today about Metta, Metta being the Buddhist word for loving kindness or kindly awareness. And I'm going to start with the question, does Metta make a difference? What difference does it make if we develop Metta in meditation, if we develop Metta in our ordinary lives outside of meditation? Well, of course it does make a difference, but I'm just going to say a few things about that. And first of all, a story. I can't remember where I heard this story. It comes from somewhere in the Buddhist tradition. And it tells of two monks who are walking on a beach by the seashore. And the tide has just turned. It's just been full tide. And now the tide is beginning to go out. And as the tide goes out, lots and lots of fishes are shown on the beach. Hundreds and hundreds of fish left stranded on the beach by the retreating tide. So one of the monks, unhesitating, just reaches down, picks up one or two fish and throws them back into the sea. Picks up one or two more and throws them back into the sea. But the other monk looks on and says, "There's hundreds of them. There's no way you're going to rescue all of these fish. So what's the point? You're not going to make any difference to the situation." And so the first monk carried on picking up a fish, throwing it in the sea, regardless of what his friend said. And as he threw each one into the sea, he said, "Made a difference to that one." Threw another one in, made a difference to that one, and another, and another. So he made a difference to each of those individual fish that he threw back into the sea. And maybe it didn't have a huge effect on the whole situation, but it had some effect, it had some difference, made some difference. So sometimes our actions can seem incredibly small, like these videos that I do and that other people do, and the classes that we put on at the Norwich Buddhist Centre. Really, compared with the world situation, those things only reach a very few people. But we can see that those things have a very big effect on a small number of people. So fantastic. When I first went to a Buddhist centre and received teaching about meditation and Buddhism, it was more than 40 years ago, and it had a huge effect on me, and the ripples of that effect are still happening now. So we remember things for a very long time, sometimes for our whole life. So maybe in your life you are working in care or in some kind of social work, or maybe you work for the NHS. And in any of those jobs you can only work with one person at a time, really. You're only really looking to help, to benefit that one person, whether it's with a medical condition or whatever it is. But, of course, the work that you do with that person will have a great effect on them. Maybe they'll be cured. Maybe they'll be relieved from some stress and anxiety. So these actions can come out of our Metta Bhavana meditation practice. We develop Metta in the practice, and then we act in accordance with that Metta, because Metta has become part of us. So it's just quite natural that we do whatever we do, reaching out to people. And of course we don't have to be a social worker or a care worker or an NHS worker. We can just be an ordinary human being who is aware of somebody else's suffering, however great or small, and if we reach out to them, then that can have very long-lasting effects on them. So we don't need to worry about really the global situation. We ourselves cannot really affect the mass of suffering that is in the world, but we can affect individuals by what we do. We can affect them even very, very strongly. I can remember acts of kindness that people have done for me that go back over many years, as well as quite recent ones. So it stays, it has an effect. The ripples last for a long time. I've been talking here mainly about the effect that we can have on other people through our practice of Metta Bhavana and through our actions coming from that meditation practice. But what about the effect on us? Does Metta have an effect on us? Does Metta make a difference to us? Well, there's two things, I think. Firstly, if we act towards somebody else with an act of metta, however small, maybe we just phone somebody up because we want to see how they're doing. We wonder if they're having a difficult time at the moment, especially in this lockdown period. Maybe they would appreciate just hearing a friendly voice. So we reach out, we phone up, we speak to them, or we send them a message, or we send them something. We make a connection some way. And as well as benefiting them, that also benefits us. When I do something like that, it makes me feel as though my heart has expanded somewhat. My mind has expanded somewhat to include somebody else in my concern, rather than just thinking about myself all the time. So it has an opening effect. And I think also a lightening effect, but also in meditation, whenever I do Metta Bhavana meditation, then always afterwards I feel lighter in my experience, as though something has been lifted or something has been processed in my experience, which has enabled a lightness of being. And actually I find that with any meditation, not just Metta Bhavana. Dada Rinpoche said that meditation lightens the heart and mind. And that is definitely the case in my own experience. Even if I feel that I haven't developed much in the way of metta, or I haven't developed much mindfulness, much concentration in a particular meditation session, nonetheless, I nearly always feel that things have lightened, things have clarified, there's a lightness, a warmth, an openness, a receptivity, more outgoingness. All of these things come about from a meditation practice. Whatever we may think we have or have not achieved, that's my experience. So, does metta make a difference? It makes a difference to ourselves, and it makes a difference to anybody else that we come into contact with. That's it for today.